I first got the call to come and present today. I was a little bit nervous, really for two reasons. Number one, I'm the only non-Californian on the board, and so I think my views might differ a little bit from the other panelists about California. And the other is because every time I sit on an airplane and the person next to me asks, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "Well, I'm a trucking guy." They promptly pretend to have sleep apnea and go to sleep. So it's kind of refreshing to be in a room with a bunch of people that actually want to talk about trucking. Before I go into my presentation, I just wanted to give a short story, tell a short story. And it's a story I've stolen from Dan Baker over the years. I don't know if you guys have heard Dan Baker, but I think this story probably tells more about me than maybe my presentation does. He tells a story about the janitor at the Methodist Church in Mesquite, Texas. And so obviously some of you heard this story. And he was a great janitor. He'd been working for the church for a number of years, 8 or 9 years. Well, it came to the board's attention that he didn't know how to read. And the board became concerned about it, so they met together and they talked about it. And they said, really, we can't have Willie as our janitor, even though he does a great job, because he's mixing chemicals and he might mix the wrong chemical and actually hurt somebody. So they let Willie go. Well, like everybody else, Willie needed to earn a living. He had a family to feed. So he went out, started his own company, worked really hard. Company grew a little bit. He hired some good people, some bright people that worked for him. It grew a little bit more. So eventually he needed money from the bank to expand his business. So he goes to the bank and he shows them everything he's done. And they said, "Boy, you've done such a great job." He goes, "What we need you to do, though, is read over these loan documents so we can get you a loan." He goes, "Well, the problem is I can't read." And the banker was kind of dumbstruck. Here's this guy who's built this great business, and he doesn't know how to read. And he goes, "Can you imagine where you would be if you could read?" He goes, "Yes, I'd be the janitor at the church in Mesquite, Texas." So why that relates to us is a lot of people don't think we're real bright, but we work really hard, and we surround ourselves with bright people, and that's really been the key to our success. Is this a clicker?
It is.
Okay. So, like they said, we have two companies. History of Truman Corporation started in 1962 by my father, one man, one truck. Always tells us stories. He's tried to sell it ever since. We just keep getting more. Based in Las Vegas. Wasn't until I went away to college. I thought every grocery store had a slot machine, but it's a little bit of a different growing up. This is our 50th anniversary, which we're very proud of. Regional truckload, dedicated. We have dry van, refrigerator, curtain side, and flatbed. When you're based in a market with basically no freight, you pretty much have to do everything you can to haul loads. Currently, we have 137 tractors and 186 employees in Truline. This is kind of shows our footprint of Truline, the regions we run. You can see that heavy concentration between Las Vegas and Southern California, a little bit in Denver, Utah, Arizona, and then a small dedicated fleet out in Texas. Estenson is probably our more interesting story. We formed it in 1999 as a partnership between Tim Estenson and Truline Corporation. He came to us and said, "I have a great idea for dedicated transportation, but I don't know how to buy trucks, get insurance." So we formed the partnership. All we had to get was 10 trucks to break even to make this work. And after a year, we had 2. So it wasn't working. We tried to actually kill it twice, and I'm glad we didn't. We currently deliver freight in 42 of the contiguous 48 states. We have a goal growth of 20% per year. And our service offerings include dry van, refrigerated, curtain side, flatbed, and tankers. And so this is our footprint for Estenson, a little bit more spread out. So summary of our equipment: 726 day cabs, 110 sleeper trucks, 35 owner-operators, 22 yard hostlers, 2,058 dry vans, 221 refrigerated trailers, 462 flatbeds, 4 tankers, and 4 pups. As far as what's in the west, 688 trucks west of Denver, which is kind of what we're talking about today, and 366 of those trucks based in California. Our challenges in California, I polled our staff and said, what do you think are opportunities and challenges? The CARB program represents a lot of issues that are unique to California. The stringent employment laws create issues. If we've expanded into different states, we get a lot of a comparison between the different states, whether it's the meal and rest period, the class action lawsuit issues, the unemployment claims, work comp, much different in California than the rest of the nation. The bid inspection program is another added benefit of being in California. We've had 22 inspections since 2008. We just actually finished our 23rd today in Healdsburg, California, Northern California. And it's always nice to pay the inspectors to come and inspect you. Congestion on truck routes, definitely with the number of households and vehicles in the state, create opportunities, and limited parking for over-the-road guys. Sometimes you get into an area and it becomes very challenging to find a place to park a truck. With all that said, though, there's a lot of opportunity in California. The biggest one is they are the largest economy in the world, pretty much. If they were a country, I think they'd rank as the 7th largest country in the world based on their economy. So there is a lot of opportunity there. It's hard not to go to California. The other is that California, from an infrastructure for alternative fuel and natural gas, is probably the best market in the world to make that happen. And so we actually did a 13-week test study. I want to share some of the results of the mistakes we made or the lessons we learned. It was a 13-week test. We had 5 trucks, compared to 5 trucks, same drivers, same routes with our clean diesel the 3 months prior. We had 5.3% down days based on mechanical issues, 25 instances where the fuel station was either out of fuel or the pump was dispensing at the rate of 1 gallon per minute, which was 8% of the time. That cost us about an hour of delay per instance. One lesson we learned hard, once a truck is out of fuel, you are out of fuel. You don't run a little bit of CNG out in a 5-gallon can and get that truck going. You have to be towed. We did that 3 times. We had to fuel the trucks every day versus maybe once or twice a week. The range of the operating range was 230 to 270 miles. We tested the 9-liter engine, and for what we do, that it wasn't large enough. We needed a larger engine. But overall, the drivers liked the equipment. From a drivability standpoint, an overall reliability standpoint, it was pretty well received. And that's all for me.